Morning everyone. It's been a couple of weeks since we last made a video. Been very busy at work, lots of weekend work required unfortunately. But we're back now. We finally got the correct bearings for the crown gear, and today we're going to have a crack at fitting those. So to do that, we're going to heat up the inner race of the bearings and hopefully heat them up far enough to be able to so that they'll just pop down onto the crown gear. And then for the outer race, what we're going to do, we're going to pop them into the freezer in plastic bags whilst we're busy with the inner race. And then what we'll do is we'll try and heat up the inside of the trumpet gear, the trumpet housing. And again, hopefully with them being super cold and with the trumpet gear being heated, hopefully they'll just pop down. And even if they don't, and we do need to push them in, then at least they should go a lot easier because of the temperature difference between them. So that's what we're going to do. Once that's done, the next major job that we need to do is to make gaskets for the trumpet housing. Obviously it's quite a large gasket. I've got the gasket paper, but we're going to have to find a good way of making those gaskets. So we're going to try a few things. I don't know if we'll get to that today. If we don't do it today, then hopefully we'll do it tomorrow, and that'll obviously be a separate video. But for today, we're going to have a crack at the crown gear bearings, and hope that you follow along. Hope that you enjoy what you see, and yeah, we'll be back at the once it's finished. Okay everyone, so we've got all set up, and we're going to use our camping stove to try and heat these bearings. So Oscar, if you can switch the gas on. Okay, and matches might be a bit dim. There we go. There's a nice good flame there. I'll put this on, and this has a deflector plate, which obviously centralizes the heat. So now what we've done, as I mentioned earlier, we've taken the outer race of the bearing and we popped that into the freezer. And what we're going to do is heat this one, the inner race, and then hopefully that'll pop straight down onto this. And of course it needs to go that way, so that the cones are sticking out toward what will be the trumpet housing. So you can see this, you probably won't be able to see it on the camera, but there's quite a bit of change needs to happen there in terms of size. So all that's coming on nicely. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pop that on there. Don't know how long it's going to take. Unfortunately I don't have a thermometer, so we are just going to have to play it by ear, try it and then keep heating, etc. But the other thing I wanted to mention, we've marked, for each one we just marked this one as number 1 and the other one as number 2, and we've done the corresponding marks on the outer race, basically to ensure that we use the same outer race with the same inner race. I don't know these days whether it actually matters, whether these things are actually precision cut to match each other, but I thought it's just safer to keep the two parts together for now. So, right, so we're going to let that heat. It might take a while. I've never done it this way, so I don't know exactly how long it's going to take. But I'm hoping it won't take too long, and we'll come back when we're ready to at least try pop that one down onto this rail. In the meantime, I'm going to give us a little bit of a clean. It is actually clean, but we just make sure it's 100% clean, and also just put a bit of oil on there just to make sure it has every opportunity to go on smoothly. So yeah, so we'll be back when we're ready to do that. Okay, we're back. Should have timed it, but I think it's probably been about 10 minutes. You can see there's a little bit of steam coming off, or a vapor coming off of that bearing. So, like I said, unfortunately I don't have a thermometer. That would have been ideal to be able to measure the temperature. Bundy Bear's actually done a video on this. It's very similar, where he's actually worked out or been told what the exact or what the maximum temperature is that you should heat these bearings to, and he's actually measured it and worked it all out. And you can see on that video how they literally just pop on. But anyway, we unfortunately don't have all of those tools, so we're going to just do a bit of trial and error. I've put a lot of oil on there, so I'm hoping that that'll be enough. And we're going to give it a go. And no, that is still not hot enough. Now, it might be... Now we've got a dilemma. So we've got to decide whether we're going to go down or whether we're going to go up. What do you think, Oscar? Should we put it on or take it off?
Try and put it on.
Okay.
Always go for the quickest option, that's my way.
Okay, I believe that that's probably hot enough now, and hopefully that will pop straight back on. There we go. A little bit of a tap, and that will go down, I'm pretty sure. There we go. And that has gone all the way down. Perfect. Yeah, that's exactly what we wanted.
And now we've got a steaming hot bearing.
We now have a steaming hot bearing. Right, can you switch that off, please, Oscar?
Okay. Should I switch it off for the tank or both?
No, at the stove first and then at the tank. Well, you don't need to switch it off at the tank because we're going to use it again in a minute. Just switch that off, yeah.
Is it going the right way?
Yeah, I think so.
Can't see anything in there.
Great. Okay, well there we go. And that is how to get that bearing on without having to press it on.
Or
Because we don't have a press.
accidentally break.
Or, I mean, the other way would be to try and find a collar that's the right size and knock it in with a hammer, but that's I always think that's not very good for the bearing, so I'm glad that we've been able to do it this way. This seems like a much better way of doing it, so I'm very happy with how that went. Obviously a little bit of a failed attempt halfway there, but again, like we said, this is all trial and error, and we just need to let that cool a little bit now so it will shrink on and basically grab that shaft, that collar in the middle. Then we'll turn it over and we'll do the other side. Okay, we're ready for number 2. It's been heating for about 15 minutes. Oh. Make sure I've got a good grip on it. There we go.
Now it should just drop on.
Maybe not. And what we will do is give it a good whack with a hammer. There we go.
Should I turn the gas stove off?
You can turn it off. We are done with that for now. And that is how you put bearings on without a press.
Yep.
It's so much easier than trying to knock it on with a hammer and have a collar, get the collar the right size, and etc. etc. So, very grateful to Lance at Bundy Bear for showing me how to do that. Again, I'll link to his video so you can see how he did it. He used a induction stove to heat the bearings, which is also obviously very interesting. Unfortunately, we don't have one of those, but we do have our faithful camping stove, which we used, and that worked really well. So very pleased with that. So So we'll let that. We'll let that cool a little bit, and then we'll move on to the trumpet housings, get those cleaned up. I actually think I'm going to make the gaskets first before we put the inner races in, just because I just don't want to risk the inner races getting damaged in any way whilst we're making the gasket. So we're going to get that all set up and have a go at making the gaskets, which will actually be the next part of the video, or I might make it a separate video. It just depends how the editing works out on this. So, but for now, I hope that was informational and helpful to you. Again, I'm very happy with how that worked, and yeah, we look forward to the next step. Okay, hi everyone. We've got this set up now. We're starting to make the gaskets for the trumpet housing. So we've got the trumpet housing underneath here, and we've made a start. We've cut this paper to the approximate diameter of the trumpet housing, and then I'm just holding it here, and Oscar is lightly tapping all the way around to get the inner diameter of this gasket. So let's continue, Oscar, and show people how to do it. Okay, so we can see it lifting up a little bit here, which means that it's a little bit tight, but that's fine. It'll settle once we get it in. The next challenge, obviously, is to cut the holes. Now, the way I'm going to try it, the only way I've ever known to do it is obviously to hold it really tight and use the ball peen side of the hammer, and basically knock out the hole like that. My stepfather used to have a whole range of ball bearings, all different sizes of ball bearings. And what he used to do is pop a ball bearing in there and just knock the ball bearing through. But I don't have that, so we're just going to do it this way. There we go. So that's the first one done. What I'm going to do is actually make the second one on here as well. These should be identical, the two trumpet housings. So that should be fun. And there we go. There's our first gasket.
Homemade.
Homemade gasket. And the reason we had to homemade these was I did try to buy them, but unfortunately neither Agriline nor Molpus, who are the Sparex agent here, and one other, I can't remember who the third place. I tried 3 different places and none of them had this particular one. Some of them had what I believe is, or they suggested to me was for the later models, where it has, I think it's 22 holes all the way around. These only, if you count them, there's 11 basically. And apparently even the 22, it was originally designed to fit either the 11 or the, I don't even think it's 22, I think it's a different number in the later model. But apparently they weren't a good fit, and actually they've pulled them and they are basically redesigning them, and they didn't have any stock basically of the correct ones. So that's why I decided to make my own.
If you want a job done, do it yourself.
Okay, everyone. Well, that was, I think, a successful afternoon. We've managed to get both of the bearings onto the crown gear. I think it was a lot easier heating them up, wasn't it? Yeah, they made it a lot easier than trying to knock them on. We obviously cleaned up one of the trumpet housings, and we made it both the gaskets. So we've now got 2 gaskets ready to roll there. We tried to replace the bush for the brake cross shaft, but it turns out that we've again probably ordered the wrong bush. So those are going to go back, and we'll have to try and get the right one. Again, really, I probably should measure everything before ordering parts. I have relied, I suppose, too heavily on the manual and the website of Agriline. So yeah, I think in future very much have to focus on making sure I measure things and make sure I'm ordering the right part. So yeah, lessons learned, of course. So we'll get that sorted out. Tomorrow we're going to continue cleaning, get everything ready. The other trumpet housing needs to be cleaned up. We need to clean inside the diff, get that all nicely cleaned up, and basically get ready to start reassembling that back end now that we've got the bearings and nicer. They went on nicely. So hopefully we can get the back end of the tractor put back together. That's the complete rear end. Then we're going to probably move on to what's effectively the transmission case, where we've got all the hydraulic pump, etc., and all of that in there. As we saw, hopefully you saw in the previous video, we removed the hydraulic control lever, and what we found inside there was basically a lot of muck on that shaft. So I'm a bit concerned about what the inside of that transmission case is going to look like, but we'll get the top and the bottom off. Probably while we're there, we'd probably be well advised to recondition the hydraulic pump. So we'll do that as well. And that should complete the back end. From there, I'm not entirely sure, but the other major things that need to be looked at, obviously we want to look at the gearbox at some point, so we'll probably pop the top off the gearbox and have a look and just make sure that that's okay. If it needs to be, it may just need flushing. I'm hoping we can just flush it, get the dirt out, and reseal it, and that should be fine. And then we'll be moving on to the engine, which obviously will be quite interesting as well. Get to have a look at the sleeves, the pistons, the bearings, and see whether they need any work. Thanks for joining us. Again, we'll see what we get up to tomorrow. We'll probably video a couple of bits tomorrow as well, so hopefully there'll be 2 videos going up this week for you. And yeah, we hope that you are still enjoying the series, and we look forward to continuing and having you join us. Okay, everyone? Do you want to say anything? Say goodbye, maybe? Yeah.
Bye.
All right. Cheers, everybody. See you next time.